Now, all right. So for the report card process, as um, that could be a pretty stressful time for school system administrators as a lot of things are going on all at once. And we thought it necessary to do a refresher for those of you who are not new to the SSA rule, and also those who are new to SSA rule, and then also to show you the improvements or the changes that would have been made to the system, and so that you know what to do. All right, so on this page, on this screen, you see I call this our checklist, but this is really our step list. This will also be shared with you inside the Teams group so that you have access to this particular steps list. And so what you see here are the 8 steps for success. Number 1, and you'll also see who is responsible for it. So the first thing we see is step 1 is grades must be entered in the LMS in all 3 categories: classwork, homework, quizzes. And who is responsible for that? That's the teacher's job. They've been entering grades into the platform from the very beginning anyways, right? And so all they're doing now is entering any other grades up to that particular point. So grades must be entered. And I have you on here as a reminder, at least 1 grade must be entered in each of the categories. At least 1 grade. And you'll see exactly what I mean by that when we get over into the LMS. So classwork must have grades, homework must have grades, quizzes must have grades. And in each one of those, at least 1. All right, at least 1. Next, in the process for teachers to do is enter the exam grades. Now, it will be good if you could manage your schools in that all of the classwork grades, the term grades, which will be classwork, homework, quizzes, they are entered even before exam begins, because it means then that after exam, the only thing that teachers will have to do is enter their exam scores. And then you could begin generating report cards as soon as that's completed. So if all of the grades are in, then, and all of the other components like the comments and all of that, you could get started. But the key is to have teachers at least almost complete with putting in grades even before exam begins. That's just a good practice. Next, you can have, after the exam grades are in, then the teacher can put in subject and homeroom comments. That's step 3, subject and homeroom comments. And that's the teacher's role. We'll show you how all about that in a bit. And then step 4, we must verify the term and exam grades on EMIS. This is an addition that we're adding to the list. And if you notice, this will be part of the teacher's responsibility, even though the administrator will have some view of this as well. So we want teachers to go and verify their term and exam grades over on the EMIS side. And what they will actually be doing is confirming that the grades that they have in LMS is being properly reflected over on the EMIS side. And in this session, I will show you what that actually looks like. And it's the same process too for administrators for when you're doing your checks. Then once the teacher have already confirmed, hey, that my grades are in, they will notify the administrator and says, all right, admin, I'm done. You could go in and do your thing. So the admin will go in and enter their comments. Mind you, you don't have to wait for the teachers to go and enter your comments, You could actually go enter your comments now if you wish, especially if you're speaking towards students' character, which isn't really anything to do with their grades. So, if you have those lull within your days and you want to get a little head start, perhaps maybe that's what you can do. Start putting in report card comments as administrators, and you could, do some character comments. And then once you've put in your comments, then you are ready to generate the report card. You generate the report cards, not printing them, just generate them. Once generated, because it goes through a little process that we will look at again today. Afterwards, you let your teacher know, all right, I already generate the report cards. Please go in and preview and check them. This was a step that was missing before. You know that the only way that teachers were able to see the report cards wasn't until after you printed them. And so now we have given them the ability to view the report cards online or on the computer without having to download and all of that wasting paper. So they will be able to go in, look at the report cards, and then if there are any modifications that need to be made from their side, they can do it. If there are any modifications that need to be done from the administrative side, and of course, if there are any modifications related to any technical issues, they will notify you to notify us, and then we'll have all of that sorted out. But now with this extra check inside there, we want to make sure that report cards are as accurate as possible, as quickly as possible, to ensure a smoother success. So we're going to show you all of that. So now let's just say your teacher is done and they verified and they checked the PDF, they checked the report card previews and they're satisfied. They'll tell you, go ahead and print. Oh, by the way, if the teacher had to make changes, you would have to regenerate those report cards. Don't forget that. If they went in and made any changes and they come back to you and say, okay, I'm done now, make sure ask that question. Did you make any change? And if they said, yes, they made a change, you go and regenerate that homeroom class. And I would advise after that, send them back to go check to make sure that the change is being reflected on the report card. And then after that, you can regenerate the report card as a final regeneration and then print. All right. And I want to mention that what I will show you in this session, one of the upgrades or additions that we've done this particular assessment period that we're very excited about is that we are now able to download, generate report cards and download them as PDF. And with that PDF function, we are now able to bulk download and bulk print. Meaning, once I generate a class, let's say 7C1 report cards, I can now press a button that says merge and download PDF. And what that will do is put all the students who from that one class in one document. So when you open up that PDF file to be printed, it actually has about 25, 26, 38 children in the class, and you send it to the printer on one quick swoop. So that's one of the things, like I say, we're very excited about. We'll show you that process as well. And so all of this now is to help that process to go much smoother. And we know the quicker you get on this, the better, because you'll have less stress coming down to the wire. All right. And one of the first things that could be in to get things out of the way is those class grades. You could go in now on the LMS and monitor class grade books, making sure that classwork, homework, quizzes are in. Like I say, you could go and get your head start on character, on comments, if that's what you want to do, speaking to character comments. And actually, and you could do that. Even homeroom teachers could go in now and put in homeroom comments, because, you know, they're not necessarily depending on grades. So they are things that could be crossed off of the list. All right. So this session, I'm going to walk you through the whole process first from the teacher side in terms of all of those things that are on the list, that the steps that we just showed you. I'm going to walk you through that from the teacher side all the way, and then we're going to go through it from the system administrator side in terms of what all needs to be done. All right, so I'm going to now load up my LMS, and I'm going to log in as a teacher on my test teacher account. All right, there we go. So this is my test teacher account. And so I'm going to start from the very beginning in terms of even entering, how to enter grades, because like I said, I want to take it from the very beginning to the very end. So let's just say this is my religious studies class, and now I want to enter grades. Well, in order to enter grades, you must have your, you must have the gradebook entries. We know there are two ways to enter grades, or two types of grading types within the platform. And of course, all of those are inside the teacher's guide. But just for a quick review, I will add content, and then say add assignment. This is what gives me my gradebook entry that opens the gradebook entry. So this is religious studies. So for religious studies, I'm gonna say this is my gifts and talents. Teachers must select the grade type, whether it's quizzes, classwork, homework, or quizzes. I'm going to put that as a class assignment, and then it is required to have an available until date, and then they press add. And what that does is it makes the entry in the gradebook available so that they can go and enter grades. And just as another quick tip, rather than having to go back to the class stream to open up another entry, you could come, or teachers could come right here from this same page and add another assignment. And to do that, I will go to the down arrow next to edit unit, and I could press add assignment. So here they could create all of their entries one time so that when they go into the gradebook, they just need to enter numbers. So I'm going to put in another assignment now. And this time, this is going to be a homework assignment. And I'm just going to press add. And what this does is add those 2 gradebook entries to my gradebook. Now it's time to go in and actually enter grades. I want to encourage you to encourage your teachers. This is the easiest way. While we have the view submissions page that you could enter grades from, this right here is just the easiest way to get it done, and it's from your gradebook view. That's the drop down box, and then you see gradebook in here. And so now we have all of our students here reflecting inside this class. And we see the 2 entries that I made, which one was our gifts and talents, and the next one was the creation story. And so to enter grades, I simply click inside the box and I start to enter my grades. So let's just say 90, and then you could press enter and it takes you to the next row. So I'm just going to be putting in some grades really quickly and randomly, not looking at any names, but just making sure that I have grades inside there for each student. And of course, if a student didn't do it, then they didn't do it. If they get 0, then, because 0 is a grade too. The guide shows teachers how to exempt students from a particular grade, particular assignment. But just for note, if there's only 1 assignment in that category and you exempt them, the child will still get 0 because you can't be exempted from an entire category. So if they only put in 1 quiz, or the 2 quizzes that they chose happen to be when the child was out on sick leave, that child is going to get 0. So the teacher needs to be aware of what they're actually doing in terms of selecting activities, also not to disenfranchise the child. All right, so once you then enter, or once they've entered the grades, once you've entered the grades, what you do is, and I could go right over here and put in my creation story. And just for the hell of it, I'm going to give all them 100 because, just because it's a sharp class. All right, now I've entered my grades, and now in order for those grades to be accepted, I simply need to press refresh on my browser or reload, to refresh or to reload on the browser page. So I'm going to press that. And then what you will see now is that you will see that the category totals are now calculated. There's some calculations coming in. Now, right from the onset, I can see that the quizzes category, if you look at the quizzes category, it's here. But only 1 child did have quiz grade, and it is reflected as a 0. But even though no grades are here, the rest of those children will get 0 because there is no average here inside the quizzes category. And so you need to ensure that your teachers enter a grade in each of the categories. All right, and that is what will give you a proper term average. All right, so boom. let's just say now we're done putting in all of our class or term grades, classwork, homework, quizzes. By the way, a teacher can come right here and she can switch, rather than having to go back to the dashboard, she can switch right there inside the from the subject selector and select another subject, and the grade book is loaded. Also, teachers can sort the grade book, and this also applies to their exam page when I get there. So you could sort in A to Z by first name, Z to A by first name, A to Z by last name, Z to A by last name. So they can choose how they want to sort their grade, sort their names. No, we don't have sort by sex at the moment. It's just these 4 options, but I think that should suffice. Good. So now teachers would have entered their class grades, term grades. And let's remember that would have been for step 1. Step 1 in the process was enter term grades into the LMS. Now we move on to step 2, enter final exam grade. So a couple of ways to do it, but the easiest way or the most logical way would be to come over to the left side, the left-hand navigation panel, and you could go to manage grades. Then underneath here, all by itself, you have this option called exam grades, and that's exactly what it is. So it opens up the page where you must now select the subject from the subject selection box. And I'm going to do, I was in that religion class for grade 6. I'm going to load it up. All right, so here we see now, this is our exam page, but it not only is it just our exam page, this is also, if you could see, the comments page, and a lot of stuff going on this page here that you need to pay attention to. First of all, you see the term grade, and it's grayed out. And that's because it just takes what was on that grade book, which was that 60% from classwork, homework, and quizzes, and bring it over on this page. You can't modify it. To modify term grades, you will have to do that over into the grade book. But for right here, and all it does is it just reflects, it mirrors whatever is there in the grade book. And then we see the term weight, which is the 60% of this term grade. We know that term grade is 60%, which is the 40, 10, 10, 40 classwork, 10 quizzes, 10 homework. That is what we see. So right at the bat, you can see even before exam, how these students are stacking up in terms of their overall average. Right now, Chandler has 49.2% going into the examinations. All right, but anyhow, now that we have that, and that's also reflected here on the term grade because only the term grade is added, which is the actual total. So I'm going to go in now and I'm going to enter my exam grades for these students. And I'm going to do the same type of just random putting in exam grades. Just putting in some grades for my students. We did all right in the final exam. All right. So here we see I entered my exam grades. So what I need to do now, you can't enter the weight. The system automatically calculates the weight. I'm going to refresh this page. And once I refresh the page, I see that my exam grades have been accepted. And now the exam weight has been calculated. And you can see it is out of 40%. Also, what happened was my term weighted grade was also adjusted because now it includes the term weight plus the exam weight, which is the 60 plus the 40. So therefore, this is the score that will be on the report card for the students for this particular subject. All right, this is what's considered, this is what we do the letter grade from, you know, the final grade for that particular subject. So they will see 76.67 as the term grade, 89% as the final grade, 81.6 as the final grade. And that's how it's reflected. All right, so that's right here, all in one view to see. Now, after you've entered your exam grades, since it's on this page, maybe, and that was the last thing to do, teachers could go right ahead and start entering their exam comments. And so what we see, so let's go, I'm just going to just put in any kind of comment, and all they're doing is selecting from the drop-down box one of these options. And these would have been the same options available to us when we used the Excel report card template before. And so, you know, if you're familiar with them, you could just start typing them in. So I could even start typing and say, excellent student, and there it comes up. And then they just continue putting in their exam comments. And you'll notice that each time you put in the comment, the page kind of refreshes itself. That's because it is automatically sending stuff over to EMIS. Unlike when we were putting in the grades all at once, when we're putting the grades in all at once, you didn't see a refresh happening. The refresh didn't happen until after we were done, when we pressed the refresh button, and then they all went over one time. But for this particular one, as you enter your comments, they are placed over. So you always have that little refresh going on in between. So once a teacher is done, like I say, they can use the subject selector and switch from subject to subject right from inside the same box and enter the exam grades as well as their subject comments. All right, they'll be right inside there and enter them as they go. Good. So now we enter subject comments. The next thing that we want to do as teachers is we want to also now enter homeroom comments for those teachers who are homeroom teachers. So to enter homeroom comments, we are on the left-hand side, the left-hand navigation panel, and you right here see report card comments. And you could do this too. This is the same way we did it when we went to the subject selector to do for exam. It's the same thing. You come here to the class selector. Now the thing is, when you're pulling up your homeroom class, you need to know what the homeroom class, the name of the homeroom class. And you know, we would have given a homeroom classes some unique names, so teachers would need to know what their homeroom class is to pull it from the list. So my class that I'll do here, my 3C Wilson class, I will pull that up. And then a page like this displays. Now I already put in my comments, and that's why you see it already there. But here is the overall average. This overall average, remember, this is the homeroom comment. So this overall average would be that percentage that is always at the bottom of the report card. That term average, that's what that is. So if you want to put in comments related to the average, it's here. But of course, if you're putting in comments, like I say, for the homeroom comments, a lot of persons stay around the character type comments, like, you know, a helpful student, a leader, or something like that. This is where you're doing. You don't need grades to talk about those types of things with students. But anyhow, once you have, once you're to this page, it's another simple, click the drop down box and select an option from there. And then that's it. Home class grades have been entered. Exam grades have been entered. Subject comments have been entered. Homeroom comments have been entered. And if we were to jump back over into just to take a look at that in terms of our checklist, we would remember our checklist. Wait, let me share it better. If we take a look back at our checklist, we remember that our checklist, after here we have step 1, enter term grades. Step 2, enter exam grades. Step 3, enter subject and homeroom grades. Now we're going to go to that part that says verify term and exam grades. This would be a little bit, well, some teachers did it anyway, but now we're asking that, you know, everyone try to do it because it really helps with quality control at the end of the day. You're more likely to catch any discrepancies at that particular stage. So what it means when we say verify term and exam grades on EMIS, we want to confirm that the grades that are LMS are being reflected correctly in EMIS. So how is that done? Let's go. So back on my teacher page, if I'm verifying grades over inside the EMIS, then I need to go to EMIS. All right. But let me just open up one of my I don't want, let me just open up one of my classes so I could have this open in time. My grade 3 math, okay. So how do teachers get over into EMIS? They go over to EMIS by clicking that grid button over on the top right-hand corner. It's also sometimes called the apps button. You know, it looks like the grid, like telephone. And once you click onto that, you see the button there that says EMIS. And once you click that, it launches EMIS into another window. And this is our and this is the EMIS that will open up, and this is from the teacher's view. That's because I have multiple things open up right now on multiple accounts. Hey, let's close that one. Let's go again. Let me launch my EMIS. All right. So like I said, what we will be doing, it's loading up on the background here. What we will be doing now is cross-referencing the grades that are in EMIS and LMS. So I'm just going to open up a grade book. So that's what I was doing, opening up my grade book. And I know. So just give me 1 second. Let me just open up, because I use a test account, and what it will do is try to launch my account on EMIS, because that's what I'm technically logged into. Let me just log out of that and show you from the EMIS side, because I want to show it to you from that teacher view. All right. All right, because my teacher account, the teacher account is called Learning Management. That's just what we call it. That's the teacher account. So I needed to make sure in my Learning Management EMIS account. All right, so as the teacher, once I come in and I go to institutions, remember what I'm doing is I am verifying my grades on LMS and EMIS. And I only have one institution, and so it naturally came up. I will go to performance and then assessments, because that's what we actually check in the assessments. All right, and then I will navigate to my homeroom class, or to my class, or the homeroom class that I am checking. So this is my LMS. And right now I am in mathematics, so my grade 3 class. So this is my grade 3 class, and this is mathematics, and here are my students. So I can look right from here and see class assignments, homework, quizzes, and exam grades. And so I will just check Dwight's grade to see if these are lining up with what I have inside LMS. So I have 75 for class assignment for Dwight. Everyone see? Let's see, Dwight has 75% for classwork. On the LMS, Dwight has 90% for homework. On the EMIS, Dwight has 90%. For quizzes, Dwight has 100%. For quizzes, 100%. And well, I remember that all these children got 100 at the exam anyway. So when I look at my exam scores, it is the same. And so this is the way they verify their process. You know, I just went through them one by one just so that you could see. And by the way, this is, you know, that this is the exact same view you have. You can view teachers' gradebooks on the gradebook side at LMS and have the EMIS open as well from the assessment tabs, and then cross-reference. Sometimes that's where you get to catch a lot of things just by glance, just by a quick glance. So for example, let me just jump to one of my other classes that I don't have all of my grades for. I was working in that grade 6 class. And right away, when I open up my grade 6 class, I can see, and this is on the assessment tab, there are no grades here in mathematics. So I was putting in some religious studies grades. Remember, I was entering grades into religious studies. And let's see. So what I see here is the class grades, homework grades, but from here, I could see quizzes got this big, this long list of zeros within inside here. And then you would say, hold on now. And honestly, this is a red flag right away. Once you see a full column, which is zeros, something is wrong. So before you call your BELMS support officer and say the grades here is showing up for quizzes, for religious studies for my teacher, head over to the LMS and look at the grade book and see if grades are actually there. So I'm going to go into my teacher's grade. Well, I'm in as a teacher now, but you know how to get there from the admin side, and I will show that to you as a refresher afterwards. But when I go to the religious studies grade book, and when I look at the quizzes, then I'll be like, oh, grades here. That's why it's reflected as all zeros in the LMS. So then on the EMIS. So then what you would do is jump back over or just nudge your teacher and say, hey, I could tell right away that you don't have grades. But guess what? If the teacher had done this in that previous step where they check it themselves, they would know that this is a red flag. So really, you shouldn't be seeing any of this by the time it come to you, because they said to you, hey, I'm done putting in my grades and I'm done putting in my comments. I'm ready for you to go in and do your thing. And so when they check this, if this come up, that means the teacher allowed this to come up because maybe, I don't know, for whatever reason. But as the admin and the supervisor on the ground, monitoring the instructional program, which is assessment is a part of it, you could go to them and say, hey, go and do something, go and make the necessary adjustments. And notice, we haven't generated report cards yet. We haven't generated report cards, and that's very important. Don't just jump to generating report cards and then try to figure out what's wrong with the report cards. If you go through the steps, you will find that it will make that generation process a little bit more seamless, and you will have less reprinting to do. All right, boom. So we finish with the administrator checking their grades. The next thing would be is the administrator putting in the comments, but we don't talk about that, right? Because we say you could get started on that now. More holidays between now and then. It'd have been a nice idea to, do some of that on a nice holiday. Haha. But anyhow, you could get started on that. But once your administrator comments are in, and I'll go in on the LMS side as the SSA so that we can see that once I finish with the whole process. That's the comments in. Now, like I say, teachers would have already told you, my grades are finished. I look at the assessments, it looked pretty good. Show me my report cards, because only SSAs can generate the report card. While teachers are able to view the report cards once they've been generated, only SSAs can generate it. So you know how you have those fast teachers who, soon as the exam over, their papers finish marking and they didn't enter their grades. Well, go in and generate, let them do, and they'll tell you, I'm done. Go generate those report cards and print. That means they are out of the way, and we just have to wait for those others who may take a bit more time. So let me say, okay, my teacher said that she's finished putting in her grades. Are you ready to verify? Are you ready to do the check? You're ready to do your generation. How is that done? Once again, right from our institution list and from inside performance, we now go to report cards, all right? And when we click onto report cards, and as the SSA, you will be able to, you have access to all of the templates. So you select the template. That particular class that I was working in, let me do it for my, I'll do it for my grade 3. So the grade 3 class, so you're looking at two things when you're selecting a template. You're looking at the grade level and you're also looking at the term. So that was my grade 3 template, and it's for Christmas term. So because Easter and summer term is already here. So make sure that you're selecting the right template. After you've selected the template, well, Ms. Wilson from 3C say her class is ready to go. Let me generate her report card so she could go check them over. And then you go into 3C Wilson. Now, I've already generated this because I was working on this in the previous session. But if this was a fresh class, you know that the status would be blank because it was not generated. Started on, completed on will not be there. So what we do as the system administrator is, and two, if you haven't generated the report cards, these download buttons won't be there. You can only download after report cards have been generated. So we have this button here that says generate all, right? And we click on to generate all. And what it will do now is it will start the queue in terms of generating the report cards. And you see the number there. The status changes from in progress. It tells you when it was started, and then you see where it is on the queue. Now, what you can do is, because it's generating, and it's generating in the background, you would have to refresh your page to see any changes. Now, you could leave that generated and then go and do another class, and then go and do another class, and go and do another class. Or you could leave it generated and go have a cup of coffee. When you come back, what you do is you refresh this page. And when you refresh the page, you will see that that some of the report cards are done. And the status is changed to generated, and you see the date and the time, and then you see the queue is moving up. And so really what we do is closer to exam report card season. Actually today, we already added additional resources to our report card server. And so if you tried to generate report cards Friday, you would notice that it was slower. And today, it's much faster. And then as we move closer to report cards, I think in another 2 weeks, we're going to add more servers onto it, making it even faster. And so, the queue won't be as long. And as you can see, I'm doing this right now and right now live. And as I'm speaking to you, you see the report cards are being generated. And all I'm doing is refreshing my page right from this page. And remember, refresh as in their browser refresh and reload. If you press this generate all button, because you see things that look like refresh, what it does is it starts all over and throws your report cards to the bottom of the list. And then you'd be like, well, it was right on, it was just on number 3. But that's what happened when you press that generate, because it regenerates and sends it to the bottom of the list. And so what you're doing is you're pressing the refresh or the reload on your browser. So now my class is now being fully generated. This teacher, Ms. Wilson, her class is generated. Don't go do nothing yet. Nothing. The only thing that you should do from here, once you see these report cards have been generated, and as a matter of fact, once you start generation, you could just tell that teacher, I already pressed generate on your report cards. So you could go in and you could go and check. You could go in and check it. And they will get to see while it's in progress, and they'll see when it is generated. And how does the teacher see? And my learning management teacher account is actually an SSA too, so I'm actually showing it to you from 2 ways. The same way, they come to performance, assessment, report card. And when they navigate to their class, they will see that, oh, this report card is generated. The only thing that teachers won't see is this button that says generate. SSAs see it, but teachers won't see the generate. They don't have the option to generate, but they will have the option to download, and they could download it right on their computer and view it. Now, here is where I like to say the magic happened over the past few months. Before, we were downloading by Excel. And when we downloaded by Excel, we could download all for a particular class, but then they came as individual files. With the PDF version, with the PDF edition now, we have this option called merge and download PDFs. And what that does is it takes all of these individual report cards and place them together in one PDF file. So when you press download, what it does is it downloads one PDF file with all of those report cards in it. And you know that has a lot of implications with it, especially when it comes to printing, because now all you got to do is shoot that to the printer and all 36 report cards printed one swoop. Right? Now, before that, we were talking about the teacher though. You already tell the teacher the report cards are generated, so they could go in and download and view the report cards. Let me just open my own, open up my PDF. And here is my PDF file. And as promised, as said, see here, all of the individual report cards are right here in this individual file. So the teacher can go in and check without even printing, without even without you having to print paper, waste paper, all of that. And then they could go in and just do some checks. They already checked the grades from on the email side. About here, maybe the thing that they're looking at is they're looking at the report card comments to see if they came in, which is the subject comments, the homework comments, as well as the principal comments. They may want to look a little bit at the GPA You know, these are the things that we be looking for. And so here is where teachers get to see it. So if they see that, wait a minute, hold up. He didn't get 90. I mean, that probably was a typo in the exam. That's a typo. They can go in, make the modifications on the LMS side, verify that it came over to the AMIS side properly, and it is their responsibility to tell you, hey, I made changes to my report card. I need you to regenerate them, please. Once they make changes, this particular page is not automatically updated. Because see here, the PDF stamps it with that particular date and time, November 20th, 2023 at 1:45 p.m. with the 31 seconds. So if you did a change at the 52nd point, it's not reflected on this in this report card. It will need to be regenerated. So what you would ask your teachers, did you make any changes? And then you could ask, were the changes made to all students or just to particular students? Because let's just say all of the students, then you could go and do a regenerate all, generate all. But if it was just one student or two students who needed to be regenerated, why throw the rest of them back to through that process? You come here and you click the button, the select button, and just regenerate that one particular student's report card. And only that one will be in progress while you know that the others are good to go. And then once it's done, if you want to, you could say, all right, I regenerated Jim's report card. Ms. Wilson, just check and make sure that that's what you wanted. Then Ms. Wilson will say, yeah, that's it. And so what you do now as the system admin, now is your time to download and print. So you do the same thing, merge and download, and that will give you one single file per homeroom. Or if you go to, and I don't know why you would do this, but if you download all PDFs, what it will do is download each individual student report card as a single file. This term, you will not see download Excel. You're only seeing that because you are on my super account. But your account will not have download Excel anymore. It's only going to be PDFs. Right, I think it's only going to be PDFs. But anyway, we download in PDFs. All right, because preschools still have to download Excel. But anyway, you got the point. And so that's really the entire process in terms of the report card generation from grades being entered on the LMS side to them being printed from the AMIS side. All right. Any questions while I go switch over to the SSA side for the LMS, because I don't think I showed that in the last session, but I'm going to go from the SSA side just to refresh our minds on how do we verify grades or look at the grade book from the LMS side. Any questions?
Excuse me, Ms. Wilson, good afternoon. You said preschool still has to download via Excel? PDF is not an option.
I'm going to show the preschool. We made some changes to preschool, some updates to preschool, and I'm going to show that right after I'm done with this particular one. Okay. So yeah, stay tuned.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I just wanted to find out because I was interrupted. Are teachers able to print the report cards?
Teachers are able to view and download. They are able to download the report cards, and if they download it, then yeah, they can obviously. So that's up to you and your management on your school how you plan to do that. But what I would have. Johnson, please, I'm trying to mute your mic and you keep unmuting it. All right, what I was saying is when teachers go into that option where I showed, oh gosh. Remember I showed you download, and obviously if it's downloaded to their computer, they can print. All right, so they do have the ability to do so. All right, so I am reminded that both Excel and PDF options will be there for you. And so with that, you want to make sure that you still stick with the Excel, the PDF that we mentioned. All right, so this is the school system administrator on the LMS side. Remember, I'm saying to you, you also can do that check. When you would have checked the EMIS side and you saw that that whole category was missing in terms of grades. I mean, if you want, you could call the teacher in if that's quicker, but then you could also do a quick check by going to the grade book and viewing that yourself. And you go into that by, let me just go back because I forget, we have new persons inside here. This is the SSA dashboard on the LMS side. And what I'm going to is grade book. Aye. Okay, and then I'm going to press view submitted grades. And if you remember, we were looking for, that was the religious studies grades. And so of course, according to how many grade books that actually need to come up, it's going to take a little while. But once it starts to show up, then it shows up. And by the way, like these particular things up here, the following items are under review. I think I saw Tiffany join us from 101. I know I saw Dan just join us. Dan, could you please make a note that we could perhaps remove this from especially the SSA view, because they don't need it. And so they don't get confused about that. Make a note of that, please.
All right, no problem, Mrs. Will do.
All right, so now these are the grade books that came up, and we see religious studies for my teacher who is learning management, and I could press the I or icon to view it. And here, when I look, oh, this is why zero is coming up in the, this is why zero is coming up in the EMIS, because there are no grades here. All right, and so like I say, that's a way that you could check with, even go in to call the teacher, or message the teacher and say, hey, just check your grades. Now, let's just say for real, when you check this, the grades are in. The grades are in here on the LMS, but it is not being reflected on the EMIS. You have a couple of things that you can do. Find out when the grades were entered, because let's just say the teacher just did it, because it does take a few minutes to be reflected on the EMIS side. Then you'd be like, okay, I will wait. But if the teacher say, oh, I do that from yesterday, and it is still not being reflected on the EMIS side, that's something that you need to bring to the attention of your BELMS support person, all right, who will be sure to push those over. But we don't expect any, with some upgrades that we made to the back end of the platform, we don't expect any lags between, or any significant lags between when grades are entered on the LMS side and when they're being reflected on the EMIS side. So right off the bat, if we know 5 minutes is gone and those grades are not being reflected, then report it right away, so that whatever we need to do, we could get it done and get it done quickly, because you're going to try to get some of these report cards out even before the time that needs to be generated. Because like I say, all of you, everybody have teachers at their school who work a little bit faster. All right, and this is how you get to check your grades. So I'm going to go back to my grade book list, and this is how you check your grade book list. Now let's go home just to remind our administrators how they go in and put in report card comments. So this is once again your dashboard. You come here to report card comments. And like I say, this is something you could start working on now if you wish, if you want to stay within the character reference area. So you select the grade. So I'm going to select the grade because I was working on my 3C Wilson. As Ms. Wilson says, she already finished. So cheap as well, I go put in my comment so I could go generate a report card. Once I select the homeroom, the children names come up along with their overall average, which is that grade down to the bottom of the report card, remember? And then you can do the exact same thing by selecting one of these wonderful things from off of the list. And once you're done with that, you know you're done and you're ready to go in and put in, generate report cards and then print them. So we feel by putting these extra, first of all, the extra addition, which is the PDF, as well as those extra steps and having teachers verify and be able to see the report cards will help the process move a whole lot smoother. All right. And so I'll pause there to see if there are any questions on that while I load up my preschool view, because we're going to go in now and see the upgrade to the preschool module in terms of entering competencies. Any questions from the normal way first, but I'm going to call it normal, from the 1 to 12 report card process?
I just want to confirm something, if you said it or not. When you talk about the teachers being able to go in and put in the subject comments, and then when you went ahead to the homeroom comments, you said, you notice that the comments are there, but you might want to take this from a behavioral point of view. I wanted to know if you said that and if that is the case, because the comments were already there, but you're saying that because it's coming from a homeroom point of view, it may be more behavioral. Does it change anything with the subject comments?
Let me just say that that was just my recommendation, not no policy or anything like that. And that's just how I did it for me. Subject comments usually related to the class, to the grade.
No,
that they
yeah,
got
I
in the class.
understand. I just wanted
So
to
the
know.
homeroom comment, no, that's just a personal preference, and I just recommended it just in case you have persons who may want to work ahead, because let's just say they finished marking the exam yet. They may not know how to give a homeroom comment because they can't see the overall. So these are just tips to get ahead of the game. Yeah, so that's just an option, a recommended option, but it isn't rule.
Okay.
All right, so preschoolers, I'm actually going into our staging environment for this, because this particular edition is not available on production side, which is your side at the moment, but it should be there before the end of the week, I think. But I still want to take this opportunity to show it to you while we are actually in this session. And once it's in production, we will send a message out to say, hey, your preschool module is in, you can begin putting in your competencies. And if you remember preschool teachers and admin, last term, we entered our competency scores from on the EMIS side. What we've done this time is we've added the ability to enter your competency scores right from an LMS. So teachers don't have to go over into EMIS like we would have done at that particular time. And so that is what I want to show you at this time. So I'm in as one of the preschool teachers from Willard Patton. This is their dashboard. And so this is their process. And so from the side navigation panel, they will select student performance reports, because you know the competency and report cards are student performance report. And then what we see here is preschool report configuration. I'll just make a note.
You feel well enough to go to class?
I'll just make a note that we'll probably modify that to say preschool report card, just for that. I think I could change that verbiage up there. Anyhow, so we're going to press configure. And once you get inside here, the teacher will see a list of all of their students, because this is competency scoring now. And I'm going to pick a student. Let's pick Raymond Rule. And once Raymond Rule report opens, and like I say, just bear in mind that we're actually in the staging environment, which is our test environment when we're testing new features. And then once it's in production, you will know. So just bear with us as it's being, it may take a bit longer to load up. But like I was saying, what this process does is this new addition does, it allows your teachers to remain right inside the LMS to do it. All right, so now this is the configuration page. Remember, I selected Raymond Rule. And so this is his information. This is his reports page. And because we do competencies, you know, we have where they would A for acquired, I for in progress, not observed, and not acquired. The teacher can come right here and just select from the drop down box whatever the rating is for that particular student. And you have the cognitive development, the creative development, the language development, the physical development, social and emotional development, and spiritual development. And then You have down here where you will enter comments, which is the normal comments that you would put in. Unlike the other teachers who could do a drop-down box and select one of those comments from the drop-down box, you don't have that ability yet. So you will have to put in your particular comment. And once you do that, you press submit. And
Quick
once
question, Ms.
the teacher
Wilson.
submits, yes,
Is there a maximum amount of characters in there for the comment?
Dan, I don't remember what it was, but it was plenty.
Okay, thank you.
Dan could tell us what was the maximum. I think it was like 240. I didn't get it say something like that
I
before.
don't think, unless you plan to write a paragraph, I don't think anyone could outdo that. It's a large number that way.
Yeah, I don't remember what it is, but I think the last time, if I remember, it was like 200 and something. All right.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
and the exact same way that you would have generated report cards in the past is the exact same way that you generate now on the AMIS side. So once the teacher sends it over, then it goes over. So let's go. So they would go, you would select that report card template. I think I have students in L2 in one of these classes. Yeah. And so these students are inside this class, you would generate them, but unfortunately, you will only be able to download Excel. Mind you, if you download PDFs, because I think the option will still be there, your report cards are gonna look wonky. But the Excel template is the one that has been formatted correctly. We are working to have you have the ability to do the PDFs for the next assessment period. We tried to put in our effort in making sure that entry process was, good. And that's there on the LMS side. And now the next step will be putting in the template, but we didn't want to do any more changes at this particular point, so close to report card. So we'll work to have that completed for the next assessment period. All right. And like I say, same process as everybody else. And that's it. So now, any questions, comments, feedback? And we do accept those positive feedbacks and comments. We appreciate those.
Yes,
So
well, I will
please let
give
us know.
those. I will give that particular one because I feel like I've been working with LMS and AMIS from the beginning. And it's very, very nice to see all of the upgrades and very excited to see how we execute this coming Christmas term. Excellent job. Thank you, guys.
All right, so thank you so much for that. I'm glad that Ms. Simon also brought up this, talking about broadsheets. When will broadsheets, at which point should broadsheets be downloaded? And how long will broadsheets be available? So last year, broadsheets. Anyhow, let me answer it from the beginning. You will be able to generate broadsheets from even last school year. Right now, you can't do it just because the filter page isn't there, but it should be there, I think, by the end of this week, where you'll be able to select the academic year. So even last year, and you could select the academic term, and then after that, you could download. So they will always be available once they are up in the platform. Like I say, today, you can't download last year broadsheets. And then the thing is, what you need to note is report card, broadsheets are tied to report card generation. Broadsheets are tied to report card generation. So don't go downloading broadsheets if you know the report cards ain't generated yet. And just like how report cards are stamped once it's generated, broadsheets are stamped. So if grades would have been modified on Monday, you can't use last Friday's broadsheet. You need to regenerate that broadsheet so that it can reflect whatever changes that were made. All right, so just keep that in mind. With the push that we're gonna do by the end of this week, you will be able to generate broadsheets, attendance reports, GPA stats, and one more thing, subject stats, GPA stats, broadsheets, attendance reports for this year and for past last year. All right, and we expect that push to happen, I think, before the end of this week. But we will certainly send out that notice when that is available. All right. I'm just gonna jump to I see Ms. Sinclair answering inside the chat, but I will also check to see if there are any other questions that I may have missed in the chat.
I just have one quick
If
question.
anybody have any questions, you can grab the mic.
Quick question for the preschool report. Okay, never mind. I see Miss Sinclair answered me.
Okay. All right, so for the broadsheets for combined classes, you have to remember that is your report, you don't have a multi-grade broadsheet. Broadsheets are generated by grade level because it reflects and it's a comparison of students on a particular level, not a mixed class. So you will also have to, if you are in a multi-grade school, you will have to generate a broadsheet. If you're teaching grades 1, 2, and 3, you're gonna have to generate a broadsheet for grade 1, generate a broadsheet for grade 2, generate a broadsheet for grade 3, because you can't put them on the same broadsheet because they are comparing 3 different levels. All right, so this recording is going to be available along with the checklist. As soon as the recordings are done processing, I'm going to add them to the Teams group along with that checklist, and you should have that by the end of today. I'm also working on a video for teachers, what I would have done with you in terms of from the beginning to the end, for teachers that should be done in a couple of days, maybe by Wednesday, that you will also be able share with your teachers in terms of the process. All right, go ahead, Hebron.
I have a question. Yes, as it relates to report card and broadsheet. I've noticed that the broadsheet and the report card is not syncing up in terms of their grade. For instance, the broadsheet is rounding up and the report card is not doing that. So you would get a different GPA for the broadsheet and the report card.
All right, so thank you, Mr. Hebron, for bringing that up, because in the new assessment cycle, which is our report card, we have them properly synced to one to reflect the exact same thing. I just need Ms. Sinclair to confirm if it is round up or I can't remember, but they will be showing the exact same thing. So
Thank
you
you
won't
so
have
much.
that issue. Yes.
Thank you so much, because it was an issue, especially with the parents.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's been rectified. All right, any other questions or anything like that? If not, you know your BELMS support persons, reach out to them. You know, if you need support, reach out to them, and they will try to support you as best as possible. But like I said, you can get ahead of the report card day stress by making sure that a number of things are in place, which is those grades and those class term grades are in before exam even begin. You could go in and start putting in homeroom. You have some things that can be done way ahead of time. And so that when that heat comes on, you could just be sailing through. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Billy.
Good afternoon, everyone. Ms. Wilson, I have a question with reference to attendance. Is there a way to see the attendance for the whole school without having to individually go into each class and then go into week to download, for example, for the month? If I want to know what the attendance is for the month or for the day, instead of having to do it individually for each grade.
Not at this time. There's no way for you to see an overall attendance for the school. The only place that you could see an overall attendance for the school is actually on the AMIS homepage on that particular day. You know what I mean? And when you go into institutions and you press institutions, how the attendance shows up right away, and you see a full page, but it only shows up for that day and reflects what was there, but no reports at this time. You should note that we are in the development, I think, for another 12 reports are being currently developed. And these would be the reports that you would normally have to do. As you can see, we dealt with the performance ones first. And we still have some more performance one, I think that is on the table, the department stats or something like that. And some other reports, I think it's another 12 reports we're working on at the moment. But let me just show you what I'm talking about on the EMIS page. If you were to log in today and your teachers would have marked attendance today, you would see the total in this graph right here. And that's the only place you get to see the whole school with one number.
Thank you.
Wilson, what about subject attendance? We aren't able to see those once teachers mark their subject attendance.
When teachers, so let me go back to my SSA page, because that's one of those reports that are already available to you. The only thing I said that, let me just share my screen so I could show you as an admin. Any attendance taken, you could see. But it's just that, you know, we do pay attention a lot to the subject, homeroom, because that's what reflected on the report card. So when you come into here and you go into, I think, a student performance reports, you also have the same place that you would check homeroom attendance is the exact same place you would check homeroom attendance. And so when you come in here, so right now, remember I said that you are only able to check for this term. I think by the end of the week, when we push the update, you will have the ability to filter by academic year, then academic term. And then after that, you could put in all this information in terms of selecting the duration in the class. So if you want to generate a subject attendance, rather than selecting the name of a homeroom, wait, let me go through it. So you could do duration because you want to go from the first week students came to school up to the last week students came to school. And then you select the grade level. Let me use my grade 3 class. And then now, if you see, you could generate subject or homeroom from the same page. So here is the name of the homeroom class. That means this will generate the homeroom attendance. This is the name of the subject class. This will generate the subject attendance. And remember when we started off at the beginning of the term, we said, be careful of how you name your subjects. Make sure put as much information in the name of the classes. Is for this very same reason. You see all these grammar and usage. One of these for grade 1, one for grade 2, one for grade 3, and we don't know who it's for. And that's because we didn't name it properly on our side. And had we named it properly, we would know. So let me see if any of my subjects named properly. No, but anyhow, that's what it is. And once you come here and you press, you could then generate the report for subject classes. Same place. And then of course, you'll see the generated report cards. If you see it says no information available, that's because there's no attendance to be generated. So attendance was not marked for that period that you selected. Now, if you said, and if you see that the teacher said, yes, I marked my attendance, and you're able to verify that, and it still says no information available, that's something that you would need to report to your BELMS support person. And then you could come here to press the I icon to view it. It comes up in Excel as an Excel spreadsheet. Now, here's a note. Sometimes when you generate, you'll get the note to say that you will receive an email when it's done. You don't have to wait for that email if it ever comes. You could just come back to this page after a while and the status will be here, whether it's pending or in progress or whether it's complete by seeing this I icon. All right. Any other questions?
Ms. Wilson, can you go back again to the EMIS where you showed that the attendance for today, please?
All right. So normally once you log into your EMIS and you go to institutions, I just need to go back, this graph comes up, or these graphs come up. And this is actually live for today. So if you had marked staff attendance, you would have seen staff, and that's if you had done it today. If teachers would have submitted attendance for today, you would have seen it inside this particular first box.
Okay,
than that,
the
what you see
information at the bottom here. Number of students by stage.
Mhm.
What's
So this
that?
depends on the type of school you're in. My school is a all-age school, this test school that I'm in. And so what you'll see is primary, grade 1, primary, grade 2, and then I even have secondary 1, secondary 2. So you know that secondary 1 would be considered grade 7, secondary grade 2 is grade 8. So these are the number of students by the education grade. So this is what is in the EMIS. This doesn't change unless you have new students that were added or students that were transferred out or withdrawn. So this should be your enrollment. So if you wanted to know your enrollment at your particular school at any time, that's what this is for. So if I want to know my enrollment for grade 6, I see here is 3 males, 19 females, and 22 in total for my grade 6. Then over here, you have students, number of students by year. This is the total enrollment now because the year we're in is 2023, 2024. How many males, how many females, the total. Then we have staff, and remember staff was up here. So if you had marked staff attendance, there would have been a similar graph, but these are the staff that is on in your particular EMIS right now. Non-teaching staff, you have male and female total, and then the teaching staff. But what you also have to notice, some teachers will have, or some people will have 2 roles. They may have a non-teaching role and a teaching role like an SSA. And so it may count twice over here because a teacher may have an SSA role, which is a non-teaching position, and a teaching role. So that's just something to note there. And then this should be your current staff enrollment right here by males, females, and total. That's what's here in this quick view. Like I say, one of the things that you're going to see coming up, I can't say soon, but in the future too, will be a little bit more visuals like this to help reporting and analyzing data a bit more easier for us.
Okay, so students' attendance that is updated in real time with EMIS once it's done in LMS?
Correct.
Thank you.
Once you see teachers mark attendance on LMS side, this is automatically updated on EMIS side. That's why if you see we have like, if you see EMIS has some sort of shortage or down, or it's down or something happened with it, you'll find that teachers will say, or the attendance given having an error or attendance going really slow or something going wrong with the LMS attendance. That's because they're linked and EMIS might be doing something at that particular moment, and that's why that particular function on the LMS side is being affected because it's a live link in between.
One more question, Ms. Wilson. So because of form of attendance, we do morning attendance and afternoon attendance. Well, at the end of the day, will it show the separation between the two, or will it give a full attendance for that day?
It's one attendance, is a full attendance for the day, which is counted as days. The system records daily attendance, even though you may have openings when you mark morning and afternoon. When it reports as a single day. And I think the decision that was made from the executive was that once a student would have been absent for one of those openings, it will count as one day. No, sorry, present. If they were present, let's say they were at school for the morning and left early, they still will be, you will mark them as absent in the afternoon. It will be reflected on their individual reports, but that will count as a present when it comes to their report card, because report card only counts absent days. So they would not be penalized for half of a period that they were absent. Not half of a period when they were absent, which is half of a day.
Thank you.
Thank you. All very good questions. Anybody else? If not, the system is open. It shall not close. I admonish you to go in and test it out now. Feel the spirit when you see those PDF report cards download in one swoop, because we on our side had our own dance party when we saw it actually working. And, you know, do what you need to do in order to build your confidence and, you know, and all of that within the platform itself, so that when that really crazy season really kick up, you feel confident in terms of what it is that you need to do as an administrator to support your teachers. All right. All right. So stay tuned and make sure pay attention to our Teams group. Like I say, we'll have the recordings from both this morning session as well as this afternoon session. I'll post both recordings inside the Teams group before the end of the day, along with our checklist that I shared with you earlier. And then by midweek, you will also have the training video that you can share with your teachers in terms of the report card process. So thank you, everyone. I think Ms. Sinclair had to step out. I don't know if she is in still to say any closing words. If not, then I bid you all adieu and see you all next time.
Thank you. Good afternoon.